Welcome, my fellow raiders. The first week of Season 1 War Within has come to an end. This tier list is based on the data I have gathered from Warcraft logs, which means it's not biased, it's not meant to jerk someone's ego off, or tell you to simply reroll your class. There are a bunch of people like me who like to play multiple specs, and this video is going to enlighten you what's better at this very moment as tier. Yep, it's Fury Warrior. The amount of damage they do is disgusting. I'm pretty sure it's going to be nerfed sooner or later. The data says that the average Fury Warrior was doing more damage than the best F tier spec player this week. This is just silly, and the borderline unfair towards people who picked the wrong spec to play this week. These specs you see on the screen are absolute pumpers. If you see any of these specs with decent gear and semi-decent progression, it will be a shame not to pick them for your raid. Arcane was out to be insane, but it ended up just fine as it is. These are your pumpers, ladies and gentlemen. Pick them if you only care about numbers and nothing else. Solid specs. Nothing can go wrong with these. The only reason why they're below A tier is that the average DPS lacks compared to the A tier, which means you can easily out DPS A tier specs if you play better than the average player. What baffles me the most is that Frost was meant to be an A tier spec at the bare minimum. It was so good in the beginning of expansion, Blizzard just nerf hammered them to the ground, making Unholy a better spec single target ones. Yes, the average. If you're in the average category, no worries. You can still out DPS A tier specs if you're really good at it. However, as you may have noticed, it's these same classes and the least variable specs compared to its dominant ones, which means if you want more damage, and if you're not good at what you're doing at the moment, you just might as well consider changing your specialization and learning the new one. B tier. These specs are simply underperforming. I really do hope it's due to not having 4 tier piece set or the lack of incoming buffs, which we're going to see after the weekly reset. What's very sad about these is that if you're an evoker, demon hunter, druid, or a priest, and you really want to DPS, you cannot just change your specs to a better one, unless Prey changes after the reset. But then at the same time, if you're really good at it, I mean, mid just does not apply to you, F tier. If you play these specs in the raid, well mate, you're just trolling. Imagine how much effort you need to put just to make these work. Oh, believe me, I'm disappointed as much as you are. I leveled up a mage just to play fire, only to realize that it's just garbage, and I'd probably spend like 2 weeks getting better at it just to be an average in the raid. And yeah, I don't want to play Arcane. As I said, in order to have a good time in the game, you have to consider picking spec that is average and above, which you really enjoy playing. Trust me, I played this game for 11 years, and saying that the meta don't matter is like covering yourself in a mud and wondering why people don't talk to you. I learned this firsthand. I spent most of my time in queues looking for the mythic raid spot rather than actually playing the game, which actually made me quit and yeah, I just stopped playing. This does not apply to Mythic Plus or PvP. This is Nerub'ar Palace rankings tiers at the moment. I'll be doing weekly updates on the meta every week. Subscribe not to miss the changes. And as always, stay awesome, bros.